Welcome in, Morals. This is your Demon Lord, Draco Sahak. Here today we're going to continue where we left off for Witch on the Holy Night, which currently we're at the park called Like a Dog. So yeah, apparently if we're dealing with all the craziness at the music park, and two different streams, mind you, it's like we're gonna see how things are going, especially since now we're got basically the male protag is now trapped in a jar, but anyway, without further ado, let's just start. Like a dog. Like a dog. He was still in a deep sleep. It all seemed ablaze in a mad fiery red. Unbearable idle thoughts. Persistent, absurd. This is a melody, sights, and gloomy, bittersweet talk. Fickle wickedness born from human interaction, namely the voice of forsaken coexistence. This, however, was a theory of a world far removed from that. If there were those prayed, that's me, and this was paradise, then there were likely also those nominating it as the underworld. In a decade of longer, this would all change, but for now, the leaves remained yet untroubled by human souls. It was a theory he knew well. Life in the mountains was humble and modest. There was no conspicuous buildings among the wilderness he called home. They cared and stockpiled only for what they needed to survive without the pillaging of the land. The serpent trails could be seen as woven through the fields, and the stone steps leading up to the summit were obscured by the forest only visible once upon them. The mountain hamlets were probably intended that way. There was no sight of mankind's exploration among the mountain's landscape. And he suddenly remembered that this was the season he liked the most. Or rather, it suited him the most. There was so much to be done to prepare for winter, but wherever he had a free moment, he would make it this way towards the mountaintop, gazing idly at the setting sun while breathing deep the crisp air that was probably the second favorite of his daily joys. He relaxed him, and the cold but comforting wind at dusk, and the way the sunset dyed the peaks of the vibrant crimson. Not 2 months had passed since coming down from the mountains, and already it pained him that the memories had begun to fade. Someone once told him that memories fade every day, so the best one do is to make as many as new ones as possible. Okay, that is really bad grammar. Recollections grew hazy. A new place to live is meant to begin a new life. He wasn't sure if he was reluctant to let go of the theory he cherished for so long, or if he merely been spoiled by it. Despite his new home and the city surrounded by the tall buildings, he felt guilty for wanting those memories alone to remain clear. Either way, he had to make the best of a fresh start. No bullying, Jake! What kind of man thinks that more about where he came from, or than where he was going? He contemplated. Yeah, God, Jake, you're throwing me off. Oh, this is a dream. Because I provide content for y'all. And you bully me! Well, this is the next I get. He tried to stop himself from indulging characteristics sentimentally. Would have been a dream if it was easy to understand. The moment he realized he was dreaming, angular shadows began to rise from the colors. They were concrete buildings previously unknown, yet familiar to him at the same time. This was how his current life was washing away his memories. His struggle as he might, there was no stopping the degradation of human memory or impressions. It was merely a fact of life. By nature, humans lived in the present over the past. Eventually, even his most cherished memories would be swallowed up by the buildings. It was neither cruel nor heartless. If they were sure to disappear, then, for now, he would content himself with dreaming about the memories he could clearly recall. Where in the mountains sort of say the days would fly. Yesterday's scenery was the same as the days. And such. He had given him no time to grieve. And, hey, how's it going? This and Natasha was beautiful, but that made it fleeting. Yeah. Fleeting that we're gonna be attacked by a kaiju Aoko Aozaki here. You know, me, Jay's Naruto Aozaki, I can't talk with my way past you. Fritz faint dizziness made him close his eyes. Where's the rib buster when you need her? Oh god. Without the sight, out to this landscape vanished, but in its place, a familiar voice could be heard. Imagine if Ren and Alko just going at it. There was a booming voice that seemed to shake not only the mountainside he stood upon, but the entire mountain as well. Yeah. Oh good gosh, she's even here. Oh no. Why is her legs not actually touching the mountain? Yeah, I can just look at it. It's like she should be lowered a bit. It's like they cut it out of Photoshop, but then the person didn't pay much attention. And of course, Aoko Aozaki reappeared, towering in the distance. Yes, towering with basically part of her feet missing. He must have been tired. He diagnosed himself while trying to make out what she was saying. Fearing the vertigo would return if he reopened his eyes, he decided to keep them closed. What's on this painting? Actually, this landscape kind of reminds me of like those Bob Ross kind of paintings. Sounded like she was arguing with someone, although the tone was all he could make out. It wasn't violent, but certainly aggressive. Maybe she was picking a fight with another mountain across the way. Okay, it's official. Alcohol is a mountain. She's a force you do not want to mess with or try to at least move. It would be pointless. You wanted to put it past her. After all, she was a troublemaker who blew up the moon. He couldn't quite grasp the conversation. And okay, yep, we pissed off the mountain. Although, somehow vaguely he had the sense that this human rights were being largely ignored. It was deeply unsettling even for a dream. After several minutes, it seemed that the high-impact argument ended in Ako's victory. Then suddenly, the Vasu's voice faded. Praying everything would be back to normal, he opened his eyes. He took a deep, slow breath. His scenery was far cry from the nostalgic dreamscape he had left, but a bit not unpleasant ever. Also, why the hell are we back in Gritzy Land? Without doubt, it was the amusement park. To him, was his fresh memory. He recalled the House of Horrors that Aoko Aozaki destroyed. This park was Swallow's replica of reality, but he was not the only one there. While having to worry about anyone chasing him, he sat down on the wreckage of Christie's Rise and looked up at the moon that should have been shot down. The winter moon shone like a jewel. It was layered over the figure of a girl who tried to kill him. Wait, is this supposed to be a new moon? It said in the previous chapter it's supposed to be a new moon. If a mage was a witch, then she definitely fit the bill. I don't mind being healed, such as certainly say, but it spilled out of him so naturally. Well, maybe. That had nothing to do with witches or magecraft. There was echo in the grasp of his heart. If she had not spoken those words, then he would not have responded as he did. In a moment, what had Ako Aosaki said to him? As he tried to remember it, his deep summer drew to an end, and with it his chance to find the answers he wished he could find. Then, Sojiro woke up in an unfamiliar room, gasping. Not because the pushmaster's dog was offered at his apartment's cheap futon, or because everything from the carpet and wallpaper looked expensive. Bewildered, he tried to catch his breath. She was the cause of his surprise. The moment Sojiro saw it snap open, there she was, the girl dressed in black, sitting at his bedside. The silence was deafening. Still, spine on the bed, Sojiro glared at her. His impulse was to sit up, but he refrained, thinking he might be rude to be it, staring at the person sitting next to him. She was just sitting there on the chair, dressed in black, modest clothes. Still, she projected an air that was anything but plain. Her monochrome outfit even evoked indescribable elegance, like a costume made just for her, from the finest of fabrics. It was enough to inspire poetic sentiments even from in Sojiro. The girl continued to sit completely motionless. Without realizing that Sojiro had stopped breathing, genuine astonishment had him captivated. Such beauty. It was the first time he had ever thought to use such a simple, plain expression to describe another human being. She was adorable and perfect boom. Sorry if I butchered that. Or the ideal female form seen only in dreams. This quality was something to be cherished and admired in her. It was different from Ako Aosaki's finally radiant fancy. After all, the flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And there was no way this girl could be allowed such a happy ending. Her life was a solitary fable of someone who left the world exactly the same way they entered it. With humanity stolen at birth, hers was the existence not of this world. The more beautiful something was, the more tragic the fate. Growing up in the mountains, this was not something Sojiro was taught, but something he learned from experience. Looks like she's sleeping. Sojiro turned his head, as though he was being lured in. Okay, so now we're going from Malco to basically Alice for this guy. He knew it was rude to stare, but he couldn't fight his instincts. Then, huh? This time, his heart actually skipped a beat. She was not asleep at all. Especially as she was merely watching over him while he recovered. Sojiro froze, unable to turn his head away or think of something clever to say. It was like staring into her eyes and then turning them to stone. Perhaps her delicate features, she looked somewhat younger than him. On the other hand, her tranquil expression made him feel like she was older. Jet black hair just to her shoulders. Her large eyes were set like onyx stones, matching her hair. The point of emotion to her gaze stayed fixated on Sojiro. Even after the eyes met, she did not turn away. He wanted to speak, but he could not find the words. It was not unlike a frog being stared down by a snake. Nevertheless, he just could not bring himself to say anything. Initially, no matter how carefree Sojiro might have been, he was plainly aware this girl was as powerful as Akano. Less talkative, to be sure, but still powerful. Objectively, the scene was not unlike that of someone nursing a bedridden stranger. He had no idea what she may be thinking about, but it seemed to him this harsh silence might last forever. All he could say for sure that the quiet did not appear to bar her in the slightest. It was like some bizarre form of punishment. This is some kind of test from Saki. I'm sure it's elaborate, he thought, keeping his eyes on the girl. He felt like the moment turned his head or blinked she might stab him in the chest with a hidden blade. And not because of his imagination was running away with him. In a stifling silence, it was only natural that Sochiro would think back on what happened in the amusement park, and it made him uneasy. But stronger than any anxiety was a fascination with the girl. Her slender frame, milky white skin, the chill of her guarded stare, the warmth of her lingering femininity was a mixture of those two layered qualities that was almost magical. He stared at her for so long and began to get the feeling that they had met somewhere before. Some time before the conflict at Quincy Land. He could not quite put his finger on it. But he's sure he's seen her previously. I don't know if this is the right time to ask this, but his voice showed the frozen silence in the room. He almost felt sorry for making noise. They spoke out to her, but they could not very well just sit and stare at each other forever. Though he might have been the only one thinking that they were staring, and perhaps she thought they were glaring at each other. Where am I and who might you be? She narrowed her eyes slightly, although apparently not out of offense. There was no response. Just as he was thinking it would have been better to keep quiet, she raised her hand. This is yours, is it not? Her voice was cold, but a white piece of cloth was wrapped in her fingers. There was no need to tell him what it was. He was cautious enough to recognize his own possessions. Sojo sat speechless as he tossed it to him. Picking it up, he wrapped it around his neck. Does Aoko know about that? He looked away in response to her blunt question. Distracted by something on her right, she called Ako Aosaki by her given name, which led him to believe that the mountain Ako had argued with in the stream was actually the girl beside him. I'm not sure. As sincerely as he could, he answered without presumption. There are things that should be known and things that needed not to be. There was also things that should be told, but other things that must not be. Sojiro was not exactly sure what that she was referring to, however. Maybe it's better that way. He smiled slightly at her question. Perhaps impressed by his response, the overwhelming pressure in the room dissipated noticeably. Or maybe she had become nervous the entire time, projecting the image of his room that his room was her domain a tad too strongly. Her tension faded. Sergio tried to sit up and prop his arms beneath him. Now they were talking, it seemed awkward to stay lying now. However, his body felt strange as he tried to move, and is surprised how difficult it was to sit up. It took everything he had just to raise his upper body to a sitting position. I'm still in my clothes? As he threw the covers back, he tilted his head quizzically. I'm sorry, this is such a nice bed, too. I shouldn't be in my clothes or in the sheets. What a waste of a good bed. He stared at him, not expecting him to complain about not wearing pajamas while sleeping. Somehow it appeared that he had done something to surprise her. But why? I didn't do anything. Piling a bit at the unwarranted curiosity, he turned to face her. Although he was still mostly lying down, it was at least more dignified position. So the only chance you can tell me. Indeed, he needed to find out where he was and who she was before anything else. Actually, the more he thought about what happened in the music park, the more he got a stinking feeling in his stomach. Perhaps it was finally getting through to her as she calmly moved her arm from her behind her back when once again they silently locked eyes. Thump, bump, bump. There was a startling sound rapidly approaching in footsteps. We both had a pretty good idea who it was. Alice, you promise! Just as expected, Ako Aosaki burst through the door with a thunderous roar. She entered wearing her school uniform, long hair flowing behind her. Her preview was heavy and her forehead was wrinkled by a scowl, granting her a dynamic appearance. So Alice. This girl named Alice scolded slightly in response. She may have even let a sigh of disappointment slip out. Akko, home early I see. Her calm voice was a polar opposite of Akko's. Needless to say, her voice dripped with brazen coldness. That's because I know you all too well. Over the past 2 years, I've come to expect how quickly you jump to conclusions. You might act like my own matter, but as soon as things don't go your way, the veil drops. Oh dear, you make it sound so scandalous. Yeah, sorry, she's not interested in doing that kind of stuff here. Plus, yeah, this is, even though this is a M-rated thing here, it's like, let's not do this kind of actions here. She busted aside Akko's jab. Socho had the distinct impression that she was no longer even realized she was in the room. Let the record show that I've lost count of how many times you've gone back on your word. I'm tired of hearing the same old story after the fact. I know I said I would leave it to you, but after careful consideration, I decided to take care of it myself. I may have come to your terms with your short fuse, but at least you can do in return is trust your partner to set things right, no? You're right, we wouldn't be partners otherwise. And though you're hardly one to talk after entirely deciding our plan from here on out. We've been over this already. We went okay. Besides, who was it the one who said we should let him live if he escaped? Yet again, you've gone back on your word, Alice. Oh, don't tell me. Next you'll be saying that's the reason you can't let sleeping dogs lie. Alice frowned slightly and fell silent. Her housemate seemed to have struck a nerve that Alice herself did not know what was there. Anyway, we agreed. We agreed to decide what to do with him when he wakes up after hearing him out, right? So stop trying to flip the script every time my back's turned. Speaking of which, are you supposed to be at school? It's noon already. I remember you only had your school's end of term ceremony today, so I told him I had to leave early for personal reasons. This was so warped. I have a finals coming up, for goodness sake. Akko grumbled more to herself than anyone else in the room. Then she locked eyes with Alice. More accurately, they glared daggers at each other. The room had become tense once again. It felt like a fight could break at any moment. With no way to escape, Socho had no choice but to sit and watch. But then, the electric silence that seemed like a last hour silence broke out about a minute later. Apparently this sort of a clash was an everyday occurrence. Yeah. No one knows these two have like different polar personalities. Yeah, they would be kind of fighting it a bit. I'll be in the drawing room. Explain the circumstances to him. I stood up over the chair and made it to the door. Watch her go. Sotro cocked his head. In her hand was what could be described as a fruit knife, and no other words described the tool she was quenching. Alice, I hate to ask, but what's in your hand? Akko asked Alice as she walked past. A dagger, what else? Alice answered expressionlessly before brisking out of the room. Sotro thought best not to think too deeply about the scene you just witnessed. At any rate, the girl in black had withdrawn along with her to feel attention, leaving the bedridden Sotro alone, with an Anako still dressed for school. From Sotro's perspective, this was a perfect chance to get the answers to his ever-growing list of questions. My head is spinning, Aozaki. I bet. I'll explain everything to her, so just shut up and listen. I see the facial paralysis is gone and your breathing has stabilized. It looks like you fought the worst of it. She nodded, satisfied as she took a seat. How do you feel? A bit sluggish. He answered Mercury, dropping his shoulders. He opened and closed his left hand. A few times, moving his fingers felt slow and awkward. It's clear as he was still in bad shape. Meanwhile, Akka was blinking her eyes in wonder. Or was it admiration? Between Alice and Akano, Sotro did not know which was the girl's was hard to read. Well, you're bound to be a bit sluggish. Lying in bed for 2 days straight would make anyone feel like 2 days! Damn! I never thought that you would be well enough to speak. You get a lot tougher your look. Yeah, especially for 2 days. Yeah, 2 days? It's been 2 days, so don't worry about the school. I submitted a notice of absence. In the meantime, Alice and I dispelled the Gundar curse and the Dupti poem. Sotro nodded at the word curse, as if it recalled suddenly. But it's all coming back to him now. What's wrong? You look troubled by something. I just forgot everything that really happened is all. I really was asleep for 2 days. Getting cursed was very scary. You're as cool as a Koopa, aren't you? It's as if 2 days on death's door hasn't changed you a bit. Do you realize you were one step away from becoming a vegetable for the rest of your life? Wait just a second, it wasn't really that bad? It was, and I guess you're proof that ignorance is a bliss after all. Anyway, what's done is done. Be sure to take Alice there. I couldn't have lifted a curse without her help. Sometimes bliss is overrated. Oh yeah, you said the name Alice. Was that girl Alice? Was she the one who, tried to kill us in the amusement park? Akko replied that it was. You think was official today? She was sitting by my side for ages. Is this her room or something? You hate Avengers. Why do you hate the Avenger class service? What did they do to you? Sojo scanned the room again. He was not accustomed to sleeping on anything other than a futon, and the room looked especially foreign to him. And what is this all of a sudden? Wanting all your precious master gems? Well, that's how adventures work, man. Also, you better not be hating on Jalter too, now you said that. No, it's just a guest room. This hasn't been used forever. It's dust over everything. More importantly, what did you and Alice talk about? Well, we didn't really talk as much as... Jalter deserves your boss, so she's an exception to the rule. Oh, don't you say that about Dante's, man! Dante's is awesome. If I see you got through like a lot of shit, so... Easter's a lot of things. Not of like... He brought his hand to his mouth, recalled a few words they exchanged. As Sojo said, calling it a conversation would be gross overstatement, and yet, thinking back on it, seemed like they had talked for hours, which brought an uncomfortable smile to his face. But it's fine, I'm no longer worried. Although, it would be nice if I come a little way. Aozaki. Ako narrowed the eyes to this and slip of the tongue. Also, sorry, the surgeon. So you say you're hating Avengers, but you're okay with Saurari and Jalter. What about Lobo? New search of a minute here, Mike and news spot. Nevertheless, she found it hard to be full-blown about the words said to her face. Even worse, she said that she was getting used to this manner of speaking. Saurari's your husband, no. Jalter's your waifu. Okay, what about Lobo, Jake? What about Best Doggo? So that's why you really don't have to knack for surviving your skinny safe, don't you? He jumped his head, completely confused. He gave him magic grip because he's a dog. Well, I'm a cat person, even I have to say, yeah, he's a good doggo. I'm saying you did something to please Alice. That's the reason you're still alive. No matter how hard you tried, you didn't grasp what she was getting at. You decided to change the subject to something else. By the way, where are we exactly? Angra doesn't have yourself. That's the reason for what's the first session. Plus he's a Shiro. Did you at least do his heirloom? Service skills, I mean, well, he's a trophy. Anyway. Okay, what about... Okay, you did do his heirloom. What about Nobu? And also, Summer Kama. By the way, where are we exactly? I asked our girl, but she wouldn't tell me. You can tell me, right, Aozaki? Summer Kama's already maxed out. Don't have Nobu. Okay, what about Cage Kyo? You're inside the Misaki said for the silent house, but you can call it the control estate. You know, basically, Avenger Uchi? Uchi Alter, I guess, in a way. That girl, Alice Kanoji, this is her mansion, which happens to be the place where I currently call her home. After our night, I brought you here. Don't you remember? Do you? Don't like her. What about Gorgon? Something about the way she said made me feel uncomfortable. Kanoji. I heard that name before. Yes, if you had her. Okay, so you don't hate as much Avengers there. It's like kind of like half and half there, like really, but I'm trying to think, what else? No, I actually like Oh, yeah. What about Rumyu? No, you heard that name before. Hey, I know. Some old guys in the shopping distance were talking about. Kenochi are a rich and famous family or something.
それ、アリスの前ではご法度よ。穏便にここで暮らしたいならね。
Don't you dare say it in front of us if you want to live in peace, that is. Because yeah, again, social tilt to his head. You know, Rumyu X. The Rumyu of all Rumyus. He feels yet again, social tilt his head from what seems like the 100th time that day. And once again, he heard something that made him feel uneasy. Aosaki, what do you say? Suzuki. I have very little patience for liars, idiots, and people that make you repeat yourself. Do you best remember that if you want to stay here. Actually, man, alright, be right back, guys. I have to let out my kitty. Gotta love that. Oh, Yasha just loves to come in here. We're about Aquaman friendship propagation. Needless to say, the cat social will be like guard. Okay, we're good. Okay. Avenger, yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, what about Spacious Char? I must have misheard you because I would have sworn you said something about me living here. He shot an honest stare of disapproval. Well, it's the best resistance he can muster. Our spacious gods and Neocrist altar. So, ha! You don't really hate all Avengers since you went Neocrist altar. Also, what about Chloe? But it was not the size effectiveness against Akko's overpowering Rufus Garrett. The quicker you understand the position and the better be for you. Because Neocrist altar is, you considered their words carefully. You wanted to openly express the feelings of merit, but instead he swallowed his words and shook his head. Despite his typical inability to read people's emotions, at least he seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. It appeared that he finally realized that it was this carefree mood that typically got on Akko's nerves. My sake, there's no use of beating around the bush with you. Fine, I want to give you time to think, but we're way past that, so I'll just come out right and say it. Listen to me, Suzuki. As of right now, you're being placed under supervision. You'll be living here together with us for the time being. Naturally, I reserve the right to decide where you live or die. No. What? Okay. The poignant tyranny in her voice caused him to splur. Also, what about Ushigozen, Jake? What do you think about her? It's causing a splur. You wish that she would stop smiling in an attempt to make it seem any outrageous. Live together with you? Saw a faint exclamation of living under the same roof as Akko that have flustered. Rar. He was generally concerned about his own safety, regardless how good natured he was. It seemed that he finally came to grips with the fact that he just escaped death. You can't be serious. That's like sticking warp next to a bear before it goes into hibernation. Did you just call her a bear? Akko agreed, but as a comparison it was. Once in a while you have some pretty accurate metaphors, you know. I'm glad you figured it out. You don't have an opinion about her. She was in Fate Samurai Remnant, so I think you saw some gameplay of her from me. But I'm glad you figured it out. Make a wrong move or break a rule, and I'll end you for real this time.
それと
Plus,
ここに住んでるのは私とアリ
it's
ス
just
の二
me
人だけ
and Alice you'll be living with. Basically, she's a crazy version of Raiko. Much more cray-cray. What's this, just me and Alice you'll be living with?
あの子私なんかより数倍常識ないから気をつけないと死んじゃうぞ
She has way less common sense than I do, so if you're not careful, you'll end up dead by your hands too. Akka was 100% serious. It was seriously made her more believable.
Yeah.
No, no, no. Oh yeah, what about Beatrice Avenger, Jake? Obviously, there's no way the victim, Socho, could accept these terms. Wait a minute, you're not making any sense, Aosaki.
監視するって言うけど、なんでそんな話になってるんだ？考えられる範囲、悪いこととかしてないし、そもそも俺を見張っても得なことなんて一個もないし、青崎はいろいろ間違ってる。
Oh, you said you oh, got it. No, you said you wanted, Eustace Goddess, Ishtar, and Neocris Altar. I said Eatris. So, yeah, who's the dumbass, really? You said under your supervision that was necessary. If you think about it, I haven't even done anything wrong, so there really is no point in keeping an eye on me. That's me a misunderstanding. It is.
それとも魔術師っていうのは
Then who? Eatris. Eatris Avenger. She's coming this summer. It is. Aren't all mages like you, Aozaki? Arrogant and selfish were the words that the harmless boy's gaze seemed to apply. Alka felt a headache coming in on. Yeah. Like I said, who's the dumbass really in this situation? Do this in it. And it's an easygoing persona. Sochiro had not thought to question that Alka was being amazed was out of the ordinary. No offense, you don't even use the last form.
だからあんたがそういう風に誰はばかることなく私たちのことを言いふらさないかを見張ってんじゃないこの常識なし
That's the problem. We need to keep an eye on you so you don't go around saying things like that. And blow our cover, you dunce. Wait, is she like basically the Type Moon version of Weiss from Ruby? Because I'm actually now starting to see some of the similarities of it. Akko just flew out of her chair. She had been doing her best to keep cool, but seemed that her well-off patience is finally run dry. Well, we said this has actually written better than basically how Ruby was in later seasons, so. Witnessing Akko's snap, Sojiro clapped his hands in the air. Why do you feel bad for JP players, Jake? Oh, yeah, the reason you tried to kill me was to hide that fact you're a mage.
それならわかる。監視するのは青崎の秘密のことで、俺の命云々はおまけみたいなものか。
Okay, that's the case. I get it. You're admiring me to protect your secret. Not taking my life is your way of throwing me the bone.
そりゃ本質的に言えばそうだけど身も蓋もないわねそんな言い方
Guess the welfare current event is terrible hairdo MC and Dad Saber. Wow, Jake, wow. What did Yuri do to you? I mean, aren't those some words to use, but sure. Sounds a bit harsh when you put it that way. And it was a Japanese haircut at the time. It was the style.
それはあまり意味がないんじゃないか?
Isn't that a little bit unrealistic?
学校もあるし、バイトだってあるんだ。一日中この家から出ないわけにはいかないんだぞ。
I have school and work to go to. I can't stay locked up in this house all day. In an instant, Sotro was trajectory at herself, leaving her with a lost words. He honestly had no idea what position he was in. To believe that he had any sort of freedom at this point was shocking, to say the least.
いや、落ち着け私。話が早くなってある意味助かるし。
Just breathe, Paco. Anything will speed things along. There still are Japanese haircuts back then that are more appealing than whatever. Oh God. Do I have to find out pictures of our samurai who basically had that haircut and then send it to you, Jake, to show that, yeah, that was a style at the time that samurai used? Somehow managed to compose himself. It was a matter of fact that she never had any intention of imprisoning him. Stripping him of his freedom and incarcerating him would go against their agreement anyway. Besides, if she's going to go that far, it'd be easier to just kill him. Taco, letting him live meant to show him decorum and respect his social slave life.
もしかしてこの部屋から出ちゃいけないのか俺
What you're saying? Wait, do you even tell me I can't even leave this room? I believe that it is, but I think you should let it something different. Well, I'm not the designer of the thing. Besides, I think Natsu had to check off on it too, so. The light bulb went in his head as he burned away was thinking. It appeared that he finally got the grim message. Akko looked somewhat satisfied as this made.
大丈夫よ。監禁生活なんて面倒なことだけはしないから。
Yeah, locking you up would actually be more trouble than it's worth.
あなたの自由はそれなりに考慮してあります。そのあたりのさじ加減はアリスの手腕に任せてあるから。
Your freedom
あなたは心配しなくていいわ。
was taking into consideration to what degree you are free will be left to the discretion of Alice and her ability, so you won't have to worry about that. The gloomy look fell over Sotro's face as he found his concern growing by the second.
いい。あなたの処遇はこの家に住むことを前提にした監視で、それも解決策が見つかるまでの期間限定。
Alright, look, sparing your life is based on the premise that you will live in this house under supervision, and that's only until a more permanent solution is found. It's a
何で
lot.
もいいから目撃者を殺すなんてことより、こっちの方がよっぽど穏便でしょ
It's a lot more amicable than just supposing of the witness, don't you think? At any rate,
これは私とあなたとの約束なんだから、いちいち文句言わないでよね。
alright, this
た
is
だでさえアリスとの冷戦が続いてて頭痛いんだから。
this is my way of keeping our promise, so no complaining. This Cold War I'm wasting with Alice is enough for her headache already. She sighed as she stared at Sotro as he lay in bed. But to make no
勘
mistake,
違いはしない。ここじゃあんたの地位は最下層のさらに下。番犬より下なんだから。
your status here is the lowest of low.
あの夜から私が握ってるんだから。あんたは私に所有されてるようなもんなの。
Even lower than a dog, since that night, I'm the one to decide where you live or die, which means you belong to me now.
さあ、これで自分の立場、分かった。
That's clear enough for you? As Alice finished her declaration, Sotro herself would look at the ceiling so she would not notice his reaction. Wait! Alice? So Akuno's now Alice. Okay. Okay. He meant no offense to Akko, but he had to hide the fact that he was following this agreement with her allergy. Wait, so now she's back to being Akuno. She was Akuno until she became Alice, and now she's Akuno again. I'm confused. The Sotro's opinion is a respected fault to both dogs and humans to calm and lower than a dog. More accurate than an analogy, their power dynamic would be that of a rabbit in a wild boar. Hence why he chose not to voice his opinion. Unlike his apartment, the ceiling, where he was decorated with ornate patterns, putting aside how he would treat her in terms of logic, it was a definite upgrade. Maybe it would not be all that bad. Sotro nodded slowly, as if to persuade himself, and
とりあえず命は助けてあげるから。
for a time being, I decided to let you live. That's what she told him. Not 2 days ago.
あまり
I don't
納
really
得したくないけど、自分の立場は分かったよ。うん、確かにそんな約束だった。 いろいろと言いたいことはあるけど、それは認めるしかない。
Well, I really don't accept what you're saying. I understand my position. I remember what you promised me now. There's lots of things I could disagree with, but I admit that you did promise me at least that.
だけど、君たちと一緒に住めっていうのは本気なのか？青崎は細かいことは気にしないとしても、さっきの子は嫌がりそうだし、俺だって少しは。
Are you really serious about me living with the two of you? I know you're pretty easygoing, but that girl seems pretty against it. I'm not exactly. At that point, he sips his list. Octodized single with bloodlust. Oh god, he's giving like the Rin look.
あら、しずきくんはご不満？
Oh, please excuse me. I'm sorry to hear that you're dissatisfied with the agreement. Eric Gajraya's smile was solidly smoked. I'll say forced. Sucked upstairs to Social's heart. Come to think of it, he vaguely recalled her warning to make him not make her repeat herself. Furthermore, as a practical matter, Social Rose Tsukigi's life was not in the hands of Akko Azaki. It would be unwise to anger her further. And he told himself as speaking in first person.
Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, what choice do I have anyway? None. Akuno said with her nod of her head. Social slumped onto his shoulder to surrender. Alright, I understand you now, Aosaki.
ただ、一応聞いておきたいんだけど、俺の人権はどこに行ってしまったんだろう。
Just let me ask you this one thing. Do I have any human rights?
バカね。そんな形のないものなんて初めからあるわけないでしょ。つまんないこと言わないでよ。
Poor little Suzuki, you never had any in the first place. Now, stop wasting my time with stupid questions. Social reflected upon her answer, now feeling like his question was indeed stupid. You should have already known the answer before he asked.
ああ、だと思った。そんな気はしてたんだ。
That's what I thought. I had a feeling this was going to happen even before waking up. His murmuring provoked a touchless stare from Mako before she quickly retracted. She questioned this very little things he said, and they would be here until sundown.
とにかく納得いったみたいね。
Well, as long as you understand.
じゃあ次、いよいよ本題。今に移動するわよ。説明しなくちゃいけないことが山ほどあるんだから。
Now, we need to get down to the brass tracks. Let's move to the drawing room. I have a ton of explaining to do.
一人で立てる？
Can you stand on your own?
さっきから手を動かしてたから血は巡ってる。歩くぐらいならいけそうだ。
I was able to move my hands earlier, so blood is at least flowing. I should be able to walk.
そ、なら問題ないよね。
Good, you'll be fine then. Now she turned her back and walked away from him. He had seen this bold form of hers many times before. And so the memories flashed back to him like lightning.
そうだった。青崎はこういうやつだった。
And remember now, this is Aosaki I know. Oh, knowing it, he cracked a smile. He was so lost that he did not know his left from his right, but recalling this alone was enough to calm him. Akano knew that the Akano he knew was different from the one in the House of Mirrors. She was not that running girl he saw here. He felt a pang of nostalgia, and the Akano he knew was just a bristling moment of unfaltering gaze, just like this one. She was the same as when he first met her, the moody yet overflowing with confidence in her element.
ほら、急いだ急いだ。
Let's go, chop chop.
アリスがさっきから今でお待ちかねよ。
It's waiting for us in the drawing room. She was already outside the door, standing in chilly corridor.
寝たきりの辛さを知らないだろう、青崎は。
You must not know what it's like to be bedridden, Aozaki. Grunting and groaning, Socho eventually got to his feet. His body heavily stepped while he was lying down, cried out in pain as he tried to stand and walk. Every step set shooting pains through his bones. Despite this, he put on a calm face and made his way towards Akano. Typically, he was quick to pay not any mind to life's little struggles, but these pains, he needed to force himself to consciously ignore them. In other words, he was displaying the false bravo, an uncharismatic reaction to someone who never suppressed their true feelings.
驚いた。 あんた本当にいいね。
Macy, you really are tough, huh?
ありがとう。けど心は弱いんだ。
Thanks. It's just my heart's that fragile.
そう。参考までに心に留めておくわ。できるだけ優しく扱えるようにね。
Oh yeah, I'll keep that in mind and try not to hurt your precious feelings. Naturally, her voice was avoiding any true empathy. As she turned away from the once more dejected Sotro and began walking briskly down the corridor. Oh, and just then she stopped and she felt and feet snapped together as though something had just popped in her head. And just as she remembered something that she'd forgotten in a completely trivial way. Follow me, Sojiro. She gladly turned back the way she was saying. The words sounding so natural as she spoke them. Akuna seemed to look at Sojiro's eyes and heard her words. For although she worked in the arcane, the spell Akino had woven was apparent to everyone but her. And for blinking his eyes were as if blinded by something, Sojiro casually nodded and followed her behind her. The serious size of the interior was daunting. The forest is smashed to contain more rooms than Sojiro's entire apartment building, except their size was excessive. Here in the matchless rooms seemed to be numerous, too numerous for so few inhabitants, lavish, carpeted halls and cold and dreary. The guest room that Sojiro had been sleeping in was the second floor of the east wing. A staircase leading down to the first floor was the end of the corridor, and at the center of the mansion, winter sunlight beamed through the windows, which only made the empty corridor appear even lonelier. The center of the mansion was topped by a vaulted skylight overlooking the first floor. The staircase connecting the first and second floors lined its walls. Another staircase there in the second floor corridor presumably led to the attic, or the storeroom that soars on the third floor. Paying no mind, Sojiro and Akira ascends the stairs with familiar steps. The foyer was a place of white and wood grain. Its hardwood floors shone brightly under the sunlight, covered from the ceilings, and the tall white walls were spotless and brawny. The staircase leading to the second floor, and a long, unused fireplace. Excuse me. The neglected telephone that sat on the table opposite a stone very far off. It was more like an old castle than a mansion. Akiro shot Sojiro a callous stare, who just stood captivated by the otherworldly scenery.
今はこっちよ。ぼさっとしない。
Hey, snap out of it. The drawing room's this way. She grabbed the knob of the door next to the stairs. There was 4 doors to the foyer, and the easternmost as you entered the house led to the drawing room. The door on the opposite side of the foyer led to the mansion's west wing. To the south was the entrance. And the north side was more a door next to the fireplace. Tucked underneath the stairs, this door connected to the bathroom, unnoticed to Sojiro. Due to the lack of windows, the first floor's corridors were not well lit. The second floor was some attention to the infirmary, and the foyer's stairwell was a foreign castle. The first floor corridor was a windowless labyrinth, not unlike in the corridors of a hotel. Although it had not been long since Sojiro came to the city, even though he could feel this place was out of the ordinary, seeing how it was going to be stuck here for the foreseeable future, he found it hard to get excited about living in a haunted house.
そこが今で奥が厨房ね。簡単な料理ぐらいはできるようになってるから。
So, that's the drawing room. And further down the hall down is the kitchen. It's fine for cooking simple meals.
今の隣にはサンルームがあるんだけど、ここが食卓の代わり。
The drawing room is the summer room, which we use as a dining room, but we'll get in that later. Akiko said, reaching the door along the dim corridor. However, she paused before turning the knob. She flashed Sojiro a meaningful glance, as of which she quickly withdrew. Then, without further ado, she opened the door.
お待たせ。承諾したわよ、あいつ。
Sorry for the wait. He's on board. She said as as said to Alice as she entered the drawing room. After hesitating for a moment, Sochiro entered after her. Compared to the corridor, the drawing room was unexpectedly modern. The carpet for the large sofas, a large 30-inch television were more what Sochiro had come to expect from in a normal home. In his family-oriented room, the girl was far removed from sat quietly on the sofa. Akko sat on the sofa across from the girl in all black. This gave Sochiro two seeing options. Next to Akko Aosaki, or next to Alice Kanoji. After about 2 seconds of deliberation, he decided to stand by the wall, as neither option appealed. Akano and Alice were facing each other across the coffee table. The clean, perfectly level table somehow added to the astute atmosphere.
当事者も認めたことだし、これで何の問題もないわね、アリス。
And since he agreed, you shouldn't have any objections, right, Alice? Alice gave one deep nod in response to her non-question. From his position against the wall, they looked as though they were cleaning up some nagging grievance. Sochiro got the feeling that the two did not entirely see eye to eye concerning what to do with him.
そうね。原因も究明しないといけないし。
I suppose not, but we still need to investigate the cause. She cast a sideways look at Sochiro with darkly shaded eyes of hers. Her voice shared the same cold indifference, making it abundantly clear that she had no intention of accepting him as a housemate.
けれど、あなたはそれでいいの？
And you're fine with this?
遊園地でのことを忘れてはいないでしょ？
I do hope you haven't forgotten about what happened at the amusement park. Alice's voice was a mixture of judgment and scrutiny. She was aware that, from an outsider's perspective, she and Akano appeared dangerous. She wanted to know if Sochiro was up to the challenge of living with such people.
そりゃ夢だと思い込みたいけど、ちゃんと覚えてるし。
Wish it had
で
been
きる
all.
だけ無事に済ませるには、これが一番無難そうだ。
Wish it had all been a bad dream, but I remember it perfectly. Above all else, it was the only way they would let him live. Alice responded empathetically with a non-communicable murmur. She silently placed a small object on the table with a... She pulled out her pale fingers away from the small glass ball. The glass, more pale blue than transparent, was enough to signify his high quality. With a crane-like motion, she removed the stopper. However, even though this was the first time he had seen such a thing, something about it made him uneasy. Was it that it made him sad, or... Akko's standing off his favor only added to the concern. Alice had once again fixed her eyes on Sochiro, who was braced herself for the worst. The glint in her eyes was with bewildered. With not a single emotion apparent on her face, she called his name.
しずきくん。
Suzuki.
はい。
Yeah? Huh? The moment you responded to her whispered call, the surrounding began to transform. The air grew thick, so thick that the color shaped. Density of discomfort collided with his skin, made him seem like the air had become words. Opening his mouth, the grasp air, the words evaded his lungs. Instantly, he covered his mouth with his right hand and clenched his chest. With his left, both hands appeared to bring as clear as mud. Even the thickness of the mountain's fogs never seized his senses like this. If he had to come up with an analogy, no words could quite describe it, but it was as if he was saying in the pages of a newspaper. First, Sesso just a new sensation he was hearing. Then he was pretty stabilized, yet the feeling of suffocation remained. There was nothing restraining him from that he could see, but he felt an intense claustrophobia. Before he had even felt shock and sudden change, he reached out in an attempt to find an escape, but his outstretched hands only up this. It seemed contradictory that this place has no walls and a wide view that could feel so cramped. We are away in the dense fog, back in the mountains. Such a superstitious never seemed to defeat real to him until now. And then, he finally noticed a surprise to beat all surprises. The drawing room had not changed into another world at all. He knew for certain that because he could still see the room as it was just through the fog, as well as two girls, Akano Aosaki and Alice Kinoji, watching him closely. It was simply a problem of perspective. The floor was dark and perfectly flat. Looking up, there the two of them stood. Two girls were like two impossibly gigantic clouds coolly looking down on him. Remembering the structure of this room layout and the furniture, Socho's unsurprised candor finally grasped his predicament. The parade of the amusement park had nothing compared to this. Somehow he was decided to grasp out Alice Kinoji produced only moments ago. That was unexpected. Marveling at Alice's wickedness, Akko glanced at the small ball on the table. It's the same as 2 nights ago, only this time he's awake. Akko calmly amused. Alice, however, was not looking down at the ball. Instead, her eyes were locked on to Akko. I'm surprised. I thought you would be upset. Not real. I thought about doing something similar. You needed to be taught a little lesson about Magecraft anyway. You're saving me trouble to tell the truth. I'm not even mad. This is pretty hardcore even for me. Akko did not take her eyes off the ball as she spoke, although she did her best find a different source Alice's Magecraft. She could not completely hide her curiosity. The figure inside the pile, likely having caught onto what was happening, tried various things like flailing its arms and sprinting around. The surface of the pile was cloudy, and so it was hard to make out exactly what was happening inside. By the way, this looks totally different from the one you gave me. This one took more time to create. The one I gave you was disposable, only made to isolate the subject. This one allows for two-way communication. Really, it doesn't seem to be replying though. You just can't hear him. Alice said calmly, finally dropping her gaze into the ball. Just then, the figure stopped moving. It appeared only to Alice had a connection to the world inside the ball. Lame, only the caster gets to have fun. Akko sighed, losing interest. Ignoring Akano, Alice opened her mouth. As if to speak to someone inside there. How about now? Still think this is the safest option? The person she was talking to was none other than the one inside the ball. She was, of course, referred to Sojo's earlier comment. It was her way of testing the boy who was supplied that living in this mansion seemed safe. Some weak. Trapping him in the ball and interrogating him seemed ruthless, but even more worrisome than her attachment to this mansion. Then again, considering Akko had defied this witness to a house of mirrors for a fight to the death, she was no position to criticize. She would make sure Alice did not let her emotions get the best of her, but for now she was content to serve as the bystander. After a moment, Alice's expression changed. She must have gotten an answer to her question. Without any way to tell what the situation was inside the bottle, Akko had no idea what the answer was. However, only that Alice's face was one that she had made when the boy she was talking to said that she wanted what she wanted to hear.
私が言えることでもないけど。
I'm supposed to not want to talk, but... For instance, she glared at Akko, slightly shaking her head. She reached for the small bottle.
本当、物好きね、しずきくんは。
This Suzuki is quite a strange one. She said his name with what seemed like a forlorn frown. As soon as she removed the stopper, the air in the room quivered. And the boy who had been casting his shadow on the wall only a minute ago now leaned against it for support again. Akko turned around to face Sojiro, right behind her, resting her elbow over the back of the sofa.
どう気分は？
How do you feel?
見ての通り、めちゃくちゃだ。
What does it look like, messed up? Sojiro answered with unusual hostility. Akko was reminded of his strange behavior, as it was sure that he would be scared or shocked and not angry.
夢で似たようなものを見てなかったら、今頃心臓が止まってたところだ。そこはついてたと思う。
If I had already seen something similar in a dream, my heart probably would have stopped. Luckily it didn't.
信じられないのは、なんでいちいち実践するかってことだ。魔術は怖いものなんだって言えば済むだろうに。
What I can't believe
それ
is...
と、物騒な青崎の声、聞こえてたぞ。
But what I can't believe is why you would feel the need to use spacecraft on me. You could have just said it was scary and left it at that. Plus I could hear the offending things you said to Awazaki.
物騒で悪うございました。
My sincere apologies.
けど、言葉じゃなくてきちんと実感してもらいたかったのは本当よ。
But it's true that I wanted you to feel it for yourself.
どう？魔術ってもんを甘く見てたでしょ、宗十郎。
Looks now you'll take Spacecraft seriously, won't you, Sojiro? As much as you hate admitting she was right. No, not as... Although it was not as that he had taken Spacecraft lightly, but merely that he couldn't understand it. Still don't really get it though.
実感
Why she was suddenly shouting, but he nodded anyway, just to be safe. The drawing room had become awfully noisy. Alice sat watching the two in complete loss. And so Soshiro accepted a supervised life in the mansion. And that would be living in the same roof as two professional mages, having experienced firsthand how dangerous life can get. He was finally at peace with the situation. If that's how it's gonna be, then oh well. Even if he did not seem like it, he had thought it through in his own way and came to a clear resolution.
それじゃあ、やっと本題に入れるわね。
Okay, down to
監
business.
視するとは言ったけど、どうやって宗十郎を監視するのか。そもそも あなたを監視する原因になった魔術とは何なのか。
So I
その
know,
あたりざざっと説明させてもらうわ。
so I know we said that you'd be under supervision, but we haven't really talked about how were we doing that, or the magecraft that is responsible for force it. So let me start with a brief explanation. Perhaps it was brought up to us supposed to do lectures about new information because social someone looked tentative, and Alice on her end just kept her mouth shut in defiance.
最初に言っておくと、
Yeah,
あ
that
ん
seems
たを
like
ここ
us.
に住まわせる期限は決まってるから。
First off, the time you'd be made to live here has been predetermined.
要はその期限まで誰にも私たちのことを喋らず、また勝手に死ななければ晴れて自由の身ってこと。
Sure, until the end of the period, if you don't tell anyone about us or die for some reason, you're free to go.
ね、そうよね。
Good so far, Alice.
そうね。私たちを怒らせなければそういう可能性もあるわね。
Indeed, provided he refrains from angering us, that is, he has a chance of survival.
よし、いきなり話が食い違ってる。
Yep, this is already off to the wrong foot. Starts his head dropped like he knew what was coming.
ちょっと黙っててアリス。
That's enough, Alice.
あ
And you,
とあんたも黙って。
shut up! Just got the two of them already at their wits' end.
話を
As I was saying,
秘
have
密
you
保
went
持
with
の
us
た
for
め
the
に
sake
あん
of
たを住まわせる場合、二次災害はどうしても避けられない。
sake of confidentiality means our problems are bound to come up.
同じ家にいる以上、余計に秘密を見せることになるからね。アリスはそれが嫌なんだろうけど。
You'll likely be exposed to even more secrets. That's what has Alice so been out of shape. Now, the Akko mission is social could see your point. But for the targets of operations so our house arrest, the disclosure of more confidential information was inevitable.
ちょっと待ってくれ。堂々巡りじゃないか、それ。
Hold on a second, doesn't that make me being here a little more
大
counterproductive?
丈夫、問題ないわ。だって最後にはここで暮らした記憶ごと私たちのことを忘れてもらうことにしたから。
It's not a problem. In the end, we'll just have you forget everything about us and about living here at all.
忘れて
Every
もら
get
う
right.
そう、公園での一件から丸ごと全部忘れてもらう。
From the incident in the park onward, you'll forget everything.
ルーンっていう魔術系統があるんだけどね。その中でサクッと記憶を忘れさせるものがあるのよ。
There's a kind of magecraft called runes that has the power to make one forget memories.
非人道的であるのは変わらないけど、ま、命を消す代わりに記憶を消すってことで妥協
It's
して
a bit inhumane, but erasing memories seems a bit better than erasing your life.
青崎、それは
I do get what you're saying.
悪いけど反論
Sorry, but no objections. Anyway,
肝心の忘却のルーンなんだけど、私もアリスも専門外だから文献を探して習得するのに時間がかかる。
anyway, an amnesia rune is outside our field of expertise, so it's gonna take some time for us to find the rune and learning everything about it.
つまりそれが監視の期限ってわけ。
And we'll assess when you get to leave.
私たちが忘却のルーンを見つけるまで命を担保に口を閉じていてもらうわ。
Until we find this room, we're using your life as collateral to keep your mouth shut.
アリスはそんなややこしいことはせずに五感全部壊してしまおうなんて言ってるけど、
Our idea is we destroy your five senses and be done with you to avoid the extra effort.
しずきくん、リビングスタチューとか嫌でしょ？
So, Suzuki, what do you say? Fancy becoming a living statue? Sojo only understood about 8% what Akko had explained, and then the last part about being a living statue got straight over his head. He had tried his best to visualize what Akko was going on about, but the only thing he could conjure in his mind was the image of the mascot creature Chrissy. Yeah, I'd rather not.
確か
Akko agree with the board, where Sojo never won the wiser to the artist's misinterpretation.
とにかく遅くても1ヶ月で忘却のルーンは見つけ出せるだろうし、1回きりの実行ならプラス2ヶ月ぐらいでなんとかなるわ。
Anyway, at most, it will probably take about a month to find this amnesia rune, and number two to put it at you to use.
それまであんたにはここで暮らしてもらうわけだけど、 私たちについて無知のまま歩き回られると命の保証はできないのよ。
Until then, that means you'll be with us. However, we can't just let you wander around without a clue what's going on. That's the certified way to get yourself killed.
そっちもこっちの事情を知らないのは気持ち悪いだろうし。なんで今から簡潔に現代の魔法使い
So
の
I
何だ
doubt
か
you'd
教
be
えてあげる。
comfortable in being left in the dark about us, either. So starting now, I'm gonna fill you on what it's like to be a modern magician.
それで少しは私たちへの勘違いもなくなるだろうし。
At very least, it'll be hopefully prevent any more misunderstandings. Not that she thought that this country bumpkin had any idea of old or new way. The thought brought a smug on her lips.
洋館のことは後にして、まずは私たちの立場についてね。
Let's leave the tour of the mansion for later and start with who and what mages are.
でも1から100まで理解する必要はないから。
Don't worry, you don't need to understand everything right away.
どうせ門外漢なんだし、感じ入ったことだけしっかり噛み締めておきなさい。
And now it's our after all, so just bite off only what you can chew. Sergio nodded obliquely to Akanos professional instructions. This was Akanos' way to tell him not to ask questions when he did not understand something. And although Sergio had taken an issue with her statement, he meekly avoided knowing that it better than to object now. Akko nodded approvingly as attentiveness and then started her lecture. Her long lecture. Let's
まず
start
魔
with
術師。
mages,
魔法使いの
magicians,
話からね。
basically.
魔術と魔法の違いは宗十郎には関わりのない話だからしないけど、それぞれ別種のものだと思ってくれればいいわ。
Since it doesn't concern you, I'll skip to the part about how magecraft and magic are not the same. All you need to remember is that they are two different things.
で、魔術師のことだけど、これは絶対条件として隠された存在でなくてはならないの。
Mages, as the absolute rule, must operate in secrecy.
同業者に知られるのは仕方ないとしても、あなたみたいに関わりのない人間に知られるのは罪に当たる。
Naturally,
ほと
mages,
んど資材クラスのね。
naturally, mages will find about our mages, so it's only a crime if an outsider like you finds out about one of us. A crime punishable by death, I should add. Yep, pretty much.
なぜかっていうと、魔術ってのは隠されていないと力が薄れてしまうものだから。
The reason being that the more magecraft is exposed, the weaker it becomes. You
神
often,
秘の語源は閉ざすというギリシャ語だけど、魔術は限られた水着でなければ魔術でなくなってしまう。
often hear us say mystic or mystery, which comes from the Greek word means to shut the mouth. It follows that magecraft would cease to be if its secrets were revealed.
文明にとって未知なるもの、未開なるものは開かれていないからこそ恐怖に値するのと同じね。
Civilization has always treated the unexplored and the unknown as things to be feared because of their mysterious nature.
知られたら迫害されるから隠すじゃないの。
But we don't hide ourselves because we fear persecution if we were discovered.
未知で亡くなった魔術師というより魔術ね。
What we fear is all mages, or more importantly, magecraft.
明かされた魔術は力を弱めてしまう。だから隠匿するのよ。何より私たちの未来のために。
Being weakened, the arts that are revealed. So, by protecting our secrecy, we're protecting our own future. Being weakened due to our arts being, yeah, it should be done, should be due to.
魔術の仕組みはよく
I'm
わ
not
から
clear
な
how
い
the
けど、
magecraft works yet,
とに
but
かく自分だけの秘密でないと
I think you're
弱くなる
saying that if you don't keep it secret, it gets weaker.
じゃあ青崎も弱くなってるのか俺が見ちゃったから。
Does that mean you got weaker now that I saw you, Asaki?
いいえ、別に。
No, not particularly.
ここ
Let
から
me
は
explain
ち
a
ょっ
little
と
more
込み入った
detail.
話で弱くなるっていうのはあくまで全体。それも随分と未来の話。個人単位では関係のない話よ。
When I say it loses power, I mean magecraft as a whole. We'll get weaker in the future. I'm not talking about individuals.
汝隠匿すべしって不分律はこの大元の仕組みが形骸化していつの間にか絶対のルールになっているだけなの。
The unwritten law that thou shalt conceal thyself was an age from a bygone age, but at some point it became a law of the highest order.
文明社会の法律と一緒よ。犯罪、不道徳を罰するのは 人間的であろうとする意識の高さと、それとは全く別の全体の仕組みを守るための構造的な結論でしょ。
It's like the laws of a civilized society. We like to think that it's human nature to punish a crime and immorality, but ultimately, a structured solution is needed to maintain order.
犯罪が罰せられるのは野放しにしたらせっかく築いた社会がうまく機能しなくなるから。
If crimes were left unpunished, the society we strive so hard to build would collapse.
で、私たちにとって犯罪に当たるのは神秘の一般化、低俗化であって、不道徳とか殺人とかはまあそれぞれの良心次第ってことで基本的に罪にもならない。
What we mages consider to be a crime is dissimulation and vulgarization of the mystic. Merely immoral things like murder, well, those aren't a matter of perspective, and they generally aren't considered outright crimes.
そんなろくでもない連中にルールを敷いたのが魔術協会っていう集まり、組合みたいなものよ。
A good-for-nothing bunch of responsible for posting this law is a group called the Mages Association. Think of them as a labor union.
魔術を普及の神秘とせよというのは魔術を魔術として永続させるために敷いたルールに過ぎないわ。
The phrase "make a trail of the mysticism of magecraft" is nothing more than a rule that they created to perpetuate magecraft itself.
けどその原則は絶対でさ、
Nevertheless, this rule is absolute.
これを破った者は魔術世界にはいられなくなる。
Those who violate cease to exist in the magical world.
いえ、実際問題として生きていくのが困難になる。
Or it would be difficult for them to go on living at all.
私たちは私たちのまあ魔術師としての命、
For us, that's our, well, life as mages, I guess.
そういうのを守るために目撃者であるあんたを消さなくちゃいけなかった。
In order to protect it, we had no choice but to race you, to witness to our magecraft.
そこ同情とかしなくていいから。私たちの事情を知ったぐらいで遊園地のことを帳消しにしないでよ。
Don't give me those puppy dog eyes. Just because you know a little about our lives doesn't mean that we're not fussing up what happened at the amusement park.
私たちは私たちの判断であんたを殺そうとしたんだから、誰彼のせいってわけじゃない。
It was our decision to try and kill you. It wasn't anyone else's fault.
恨むならきちんと私を恨んでちょうだい。
So if you're gonna blame anyone, blame me.
まあ、それはともかく、
Okay, back to the topic. In the past,
魔術師は職業として成り立ったぐらい社会に認知されていたけど、その魔術自体は墓まで持っていく秘密だった。
in the past, mages were recognized as society enough for it to be considered an occupation, but they took their own magecraft with them to their graves.
それがどう歪んだかは知らないけど、現代ではその職業すら秘密にしなくてはならなくなった。
I don't know what led to things getting so twisted, but even the professionalism itself had been kept secret these days.
そこまでしないと、遠い未来、魔術すら消費するだけのものに解体されると、教会は恐れたのよ。
If they didn't go that far, the association feared that in the distant future, magecraft would be used up and the association would fall apart.
自然界の仕組みも、かつて天上の領域だった宇宙の運営すら、私たちは人知で解き明かせるほどになった。
We had reached the point where everything became explainable, though, through human knowledge. From the building blocks of nature to the fabric of the cosmos, was considered to be the realm of the gods.
人の手に余るもの。神秘という未知の領域にとって、魔術が最後の砦になると、教会の設立者は信じたのかもしれない。
Maybe the founders believed magecraft would become the last bastion for the unknown, for mystics, that which is beyond the human reach.
それとも、魔術なんてもう意味がないって達観したのかもね。
Or maybe they thought that in the long run, magecraft would eventually become meaningless.
そんなわけで、魔術師はその正体を隠して、各々の秘技を伝えていった。他人に教えるわけにはいかないから、必然的にその伝承者は子孫になる。
Whatever the reason, mages hid their identities and passed on their individual rituals in secret. And since they couldn't pass it on to outsiders, it was only natural they taught their descendants.
私もアリスも、 そうやって何代か続いた連中の末なのよ。
Alice and I are both products of generations of lineage.
さっき言った魔術協会っていうのは、そんな細々と続いてる連中を束ねる一大組織。魔術師にとって司法の神ってところかしらね。
The Meiji Association I mentioned earlier is a vast organization that covers those spacecraft wielders so dedicated to their field. Meiji's think of them as their ruling body.
協会もいろんな派閥に分かれるんだけど、大抵の魔術師はロンドンの魔術協会に属している。
The
単に
association,
隠匿すべしっていうのも協会の三大原則の一つよ。
the association is actually made up of a bunch of factions, and the vast majority of mages are affiliated with the London chapter. The law to conceal ourselves was one of their three main principles.
魔術師が一般人に秘密を漏らすと、協会から罰が下される仕組みになっている。
If a mage reveals their secret to a civilian, the association is quick to make an example of them.
そんな罰なんかなくても、自分と血族が伝えた魔術のために目撃者は消さないといけないんだけど。
But even if the mage doesn't get punished, the witness should still be eliminated to protect the mage and their families of magecraft. And that was in the first part of the lecture. Akko Posro Sochiro was doing his best to process the information.
次行くけど、
Ready to move on?
いいけど、その前に確認したい。
So let me understand so far.
魔術師が正体を隠すのは自分のためじゃなく魔術のためだったけど、最近では自分の正体を隠すことの方が重要になっている。
Mages used to hide their identities not for their own sake, but for the sake of magecraft. Now, they're more concerned with hiding themselves.
そしてその決まりを破ると教会というところからお咎めが来る。
And if you break the rules, you'll be punished by a place called the Association.
つまり青崎たちもその教会に
Does that mean that you two are members of the Association?
いいえ、私たちはフリーよ。一応教会とつながりはあるけどね。
No, we are freelance, although we walk in similar circles.
単純に教会は最大勢力ってだけ。連中は頼まれもしないのに魔術世界全体の秩序を守ってるの。
They're simply the largest organization group, even though no one asked them to. They are taking it upon themselves to police the world of magecraft.
だから私たちが何であれ、彼らとの関わりがないにしても、魔術師としての決まりを破ったら罰しに来るわ。
So no matter how unaffiliated we are as mages, we break the rules to get punished. Yeah, pretty much. Also love leaving out the part that they're a bunch of assholes. Oh, amoral assholes,
大体
pretty
のま
much.
とめだ。
Okay, I think I get the gist of it.
よしよし。そうやって自分に必要な部分だけ手に入れなさい。
It's alright. Just focus on the part that's important to you.
次は魔術について。と言っても、私自身語れるほど学んでいないんだけどね。
Next is spacecraft, although I barely learned enough to talk about it myself.
ごめん。
Sorry,
こっち
forget
の
I
話
said
だ
that.
からさっきも言ったけど、現代において、
I touched on this already, but these days, spacecraft is losing its meaning.
ライターのない大昔なら、火を起こせれば、それは魔術として成り立つわ。
If you create a
今は
fire
何
one,
かと便利でしょ。あなたならよくわかると思うけど。
if you created a fire a long time ago when there were no layers, that was enough to count as a mystic feat. But nowadays, life is awfully convenient, right? You of all people can appreciate that. Sergio nodded with a glum look on his face. He had been made painfully aware of such conveniences. Difficult tasks that would occupy his entire day of work in the mountains could be performed easily here. For him, having brought up in the mountains without electricity or running water, city life was by definition magic. He only wished would not be such a backbreaking work to adapt to said conveniences.
Oh.
No.
でも道具を使わずに火を起こせるのは神様の仕事
I
だと
do
思う
think creating a fire without tools should be a god's job, though.
そのために積み重ねた手間は、火炎放射器を手に入れるより面倒だとしても。
Even though we worked out how to do it more efficiently with a flamethrower, Sergio was sure how to answer Akino. It would have been easy for him to ask Akino how much accustomed effort that she thought that had taken humans to intimidate these guys, but even he knew it would become a constant insult. From what she saw,
さっきのを見る限り
Under a precedent, Magecraft could do anything, but maybe I was misunderstood. Glass to the glass bottle on the table. Mentally, each side of the leaf. He still had not come to terms with the fact that he had been trapped inside that tiny little thing. However,
あら、それこそ誤解よ。万能じゃなければ誰が魔術なんて学ぶと思ってるの？
oh, that's a misleading, alright. If Magecraft wasn't all powerful, why wouldn't anyone to learn it? Hako puffed her chest as she shouted him.
手間暇かかるけど、魔術にできないことはないわ。
Might take some doing, but there's nothing Magecraft can't do.
中にはできていないけどできているように見せるみたいな何らかのイカサマはあるけどね。
Granted, some users are able to trick you into thinking something's possible when it really isn't.
この世界に生まれた以上、その許容範囲でできないことなんてないの。そこで魔法が出てくるんだけど、それはまた改めて。
But since we're born into this world, there's nothing that we can't do within its limits. Besides, true magic, of course, but we'll get into that some other time.
私が言いたかったのは、魔術は奇跡を起こしているのではなくて、その過程が奇跡だってこと。
What I'm trying to say is Magecraft doesn't create miracles. It's only the process that's miraculous.
結果が奇跡になるのは魔法の方なの。
To produce real miracle, you need true magic.
偉大な魔術師っていうのは、個人の魔術だけで旅客機飛ばしたりする人のこと。
A great mage is someone who can fly past their jet with holding their Magecraft, yeah.
対して偉大な魔法使いっていうのは、今不可能なことを可能にする人のことよ。
Meanwhile, a magician deals in making the impossible possible.
そういった意味じゃ、私たちは最後の魔法使いになるかもしれないけどね。
Which is why we might just turn out to be the last magicians.
脱線
Focus
してないよ
Akko.
青子。
Alice had been quietly listening until she murmured her rebuke, as if Akko had crossed the line.
そこまで教える必要はないでしょう。
Doesn't need to know that.
しずきくんに教えるべきことは、
Should we
私た
be
ちと暮らす
educating
上で
Susuki on the
危険になる
dangerous
こと
level
だ
of
けじゃな
us?
かった。
悪かったわ。ちょい口滑らせた。
Sorry, you're right. Slip of the tongue.
ともかく、魔術師っていうのは、暇さえあれば魔術の実験をしてる連中で、自分の家系が伝えてきた秘技を守るためなら、鬼
Anyway,
でも悪魔にでもなる。
mages spend every waking moment experimenting in magecraft, and would become devils in a heartbeat in order to protect their magecraft. By which I mean their family secrets.
必然、そのアジト。工房って言うんだけど、工房も魔術的な機構が積み重なって、要塞みたいになっちゃうのよ。
Their wares, which we call workshops, are like fortresses packed with all kinds of magical
秘技を守
mechanisms.
るために、入ってきた相手を問答無用で叩きのめす仕掛けとか。
Like traps that kill intruders before they even know what hit them. It's all to protect our secrets.
この洋館も、そういった工房と同じなの。
The Spanish is no different.
不用心に歩き回って、さっきみたいなことになったら、私でも助けてあげられないから、暗闇には気をつけなさい。
If I end up
気
trapped
が
like...
ついたら鏡の中にいるとか本気であるから。
Yeah. If you wander around carelessly, even I won't be able to help you. So be careful in the dark. You might even find yourself stuck inside a mirror. Seriously, that could actually happen. Such a hope they would provide him with a general idea of what to watch out for. But he passed, knowing that he was unlikely to get a straight answer.
枝葉から入っちゃったけど、要は私たちのプライベートに関わるなってこと。
That was a lot to take in one go, but my point is keep your nose out where it doesn't belong.
いくら最後には記憶を消すって言っても、それを見られた段階で消すしかないものもある。
Even though we're gonna erase your memory in the end, there are still things that we'll have to kill you for seeing.
なるほど。この中にもルールがあることはよくわかった。
God,
他に注
imagine
意すべきことは。
as rules I have to follow. I understand. Is there anything else I should? Besides warned, as he trailed off but instead of plundering. I said the mansion was more dangerous than outside. That Magecraft needed to stay secret. But explanations seemed to contradict his own current problem. For starters, how had he managed to witness something that took such a pains to keep hidden?
すまない。話の腰を
Sorry, it just occurred to me.
魔術師は教会という組織で結ばれてるんだろ？ならどうして青崎はあんな人形に襲われたんだ？
Mages are all united under an organization called the Association, right? If that's the case, why were you attacked by that puppet, Awazaki?
あれの持ち主が魔術師なら、君たちは味方同士で争っていることになる。何か説明が不足していないか？
If it was the master was a mage, wouldn't that mean you were fighting an ally? Am I missing something else here?
それは最後にしようと思ってたのよ。
I was saving that for last.
普通はここまでの話だけで眉唾者っていうか笑い飛ばすっていうか。
Normally, this is the point of the story where you'll say I made it up for a laugh, made it all up or laugh it off.
いくら経験済みだからって魔術なんてもんをあっさり受け入れるなんてできないっていうか。
Even if you experience it, the existence of magecraft shouldn't be something you accept so easily. Akko scratched her head as no trouble about how Sotaro could take every word at face value. Across from her, Alice's face betrayed no expression, but she shared the same opinion. Is that so weird?
おかしいわよ。
It's mega weird. In
そ
fact,
もそもあんたは第一ステップから変だっ
it's weird from the get-go.
普通は驚いたり怖がったり無視したりするものなのに、どうして魔法使いだなんて言った私を信じたの？
A normal person would be shocked, scared, or unwilling to accept her existence. Why do you, of all people, believe me when I say I'm a magician? In retrospect, this question should have been processed in that post at a house of mirrors. But must be. Man, must be again. Whew! Back then, though, Judge was surprised to see the phenomenon of magecraft. For the first time, he showed no surprise or discomfort towards Sako, the mage wielding it. Feeling the probing stares of the two girls of the two mages, Sotaro felt uneasy. From where he was standing, their suspicion was suspicious in and of itself.
なんでも何もない。青崎、山だよね。あるものはあるのが当たり前なんだ
There's no reason at all, really. Up in the mountains, people just accept things as they are.
理由をつけられるだけの知識がなかったからにしても、実際に見たものを信じない。
We all deny something that we see in front of us just because we don't have the knowledge to explain it.
それに君も言ったろ。あなたにとっては魔法もライターも同じものなんだろう。
You say yourself, virus and magic might as well be the same thing, right? Although they weren't really the same to him anymore, he added quietly before shutting up. What he said about the innocent days of mountain comes from the heart, and the words resonated with not only Akko Awazaki, but also Alice Ginoji. It's something everyone else should have, everyone should have principles to stand by. Indeed, to this boy, those words were unmistakable truth.
あるものはあるか。
Some things are the way they are. I see what you're saying. She was depressed, if only slightly. If this boy, no matter how much of an outlier he was, could accept the things around him, he would be able to get through this just fine.
そうね。宗十郎はそうなのよね。
That's a good way of explaining it, Sojiro.
簡単に信じてもらえることが信じられないなんて私たちの方がどうかしてたわ。
I guess it's the fault with us for not believing you sincerely. Much like when Akko met Sojiro for the first time. In that classroom, in his first day, Sojiro took everything that was happening in his stride, the mirror that brought a better smile to Akko's face.
気を取り直してっと。
Alright, let's get back on track.
宗十郎の疑問だけどね。魔術師もいろいろあって、教会に属していない連中もいるの。
To your earlier question, for various reasons, there are mages that don't belong to the association at all.
こういった連中は教会の目を盗んでやりたい放題で、利益目的で他の魔術師に喧嘩を売ってくる。
They
あ
do
の
as
人
they,
形の持ち主もその類。
they do as they please behind the association's back and fight other mages for personal gain. That puppet master is one of those types.
そんな連中にとって、私たちは都合のいい格好のカモなのよ。
Joe's jerkwads were a convenient, easy target.
私たちは教会と協定関係にあるだけで門下ってわけじゃないから。私たちが殺されたところで教会は助けてくれないしね。
But just because we have a race rule association doesn't mean that we're one of them. It's not like they'll come to save the day if we're at risk of being killed.
でも魔術師が魔術を使うのは禁じてるんだろう。
Yeah, but aren't mages forbidden for using magecraft?
それが公にならないのなら教会は目をつむるわ。
As long as it's not public, the association turns a blind
む
eye.
しろバレなければ魔術師同士の争いを奨励してるぐらいよ。技術も使わないと錆びるってね。
Heck, they practically encourage fights between mages. As long as they keep secret. Like, if we don't use it, it'll get rusty or something.
ま、私たちが襲われてるのはそれとは別の話で、単に土地を持ってるからなんだけど。
Anyway, the attacks on us are a different story. And have to do with the fact that we own land.
土地ってこの家？
By land, you mean this house?
まさか。この三崎市一帯の管理地の権利を持ってるのよ。私とアリスは。
Oh, please, just this house. Us and I hold the rights to the entirety of Misaki City. We're administrators of the whole region.
管理地
Administrators, you own
つまり
all the land in Misaki? Daisel. Central looked away. He was sure he could see the hollow light around Akko. He'd only been renting an apartment for 2 weeks, but it's all aware how magnificent the prospect of owning land in the city might be. Yeah. Central was trying to equate that was rich. Shook all over his emotion, not to fully gas.
悪いけど、そういうんじゃないから。
You're thinking about this all wrong.
私たちで土地って言ったら、魔術師としての霊地の所有権、支配権のことを言うの。
Say land, we're talking about the ownership and control of the spiritual grounds as mages.
うちはマイナーだけど、古くからこの辺りに根を下ろしてた魔術師で、三崎町もうちの管理下ってわけ。
Osaki might be a minor player, but we got all roots here as mages, which is why Misaki falls under our jurisdiction.
管理地っていうのはね、霊的な力が歪んで集まりやすい土地のこと。そういう土地は昔から貴重で。
Yeah, it's like, yeah, different kind of like they're not rich. Something different. When I say administrator land, I'm talking about the place where spiritual power is stored and gathers easy. This type of land has always been valuable. It's also vital to experimentation and practice of magecraft.
成功への絶対条件は、優れた霊地、堅固な工房、多くの弟子たちってね。
After all, the three pillars of what makes a successful mages are strong workshop, a lots of disciples, and fertile spiritual grounds.
魔術師たちにとって、土地付き館付きの住み家を持つのは、一つの野望なんだから。
To us, owning administrated land and residence to live are a number of one are a priority to us. Social what we continue with while wondering exactly who these two girls were to have achieved both ambitious missions already.
でも、その管理地は大部分が教会に仕切られてて、もう余っている土地はないの。
However, the most sacred grounds have already been claimed by the association. Just nothing left for anyone else.
はぐれ魔術師や土地のない魔術師は、教会に毎月寄付金を納めて土地を借りるしかない。ま、手よく教会のお偉いさんたちに尽くす働き蜂ってところね。
Rogue and landless mages have no choice but to borrow land from the organization in exchange for a monthly donation. They're basically worker bees, slave away for the top dogs of the association.
でも、ここの土地は何百年も前から青崎のものだから、教会とは関係がないの。
But this land here has been in my family for hundreds of years, so association can't get their grubby hands on it.
ここまで言えばわかるでしょ。
Do you understand what I'm saying, Shosuro?
そういったフリーの連中からすれば、私たちの管理地はこの上ないごちそうなんだって。
To rogue mages, our land is the juiciest fruit here there is. Shosuro nodded himself, unsure of whether to call the conversation mundane or outright disturbing.
よくわかった。青崎たちは土地の奪い合いをしてい
Okay,
るん
so
だ。
you're basically fighting over the land.
そういうこと。
Pretty much.
ただ、 岬の管理地はマイナーのさらにマイナーだから、やってくる挑戦者も三流ばっかりよ。
But because the administrative land of Misaki is so minor, its challenges have all but been her
今回
way.
の敵だってどっかの三流魔術師がここなら楽に奪えると思ってやってきたんだろうしま、それもあんたの乱入で急戦してるんだけど。
The enemy of this time is probably some small fry, thinking that this place is a low-hanging fruit. Although for now we're on a ceasefire because of your intrusion.
管理地の話はそれで十分よ、青子。
That's enough about administrative land, Ako.
しずきくんも他に魔術師がいると分かってくれたようだし。
CCC seems to understand the point that there are mages out there apart from us.
危険があるとすれば、私たちの戦いに彼が巻き込まれる可能性だけど。
If any danger exists, it's more likely to arise as we saw him becoming involved in one of our battles.
それは大丈夫でしょ。
He'll be fine.
だって
Besides,
こいつ魔力のかけらもないじゃない。魔力感知には引っかからないし、番犬以下の人間は戦力って言わないから狙われることもないだろうし。
this guy has zero trace of masculinity. There's no chance of him being sensed. Plus, he has less tactical value than a watchdog, so shouldn't even be a target anyway.
私たちはただ忘却のルーンを見つけるまでこいつを逃がさなければいいだけでしょ。
We just have to make sure he doesn't escape before we can find the amnesia room. Alice silently stared out her partner out. Their ideas of evolving social differed greatly in both gravity and risk. Ako's lack of experience had led her to believe that Sochiro would not get directly involved in any fighting. It was an honest and rational thought. Ako despised wasted action, so it was natural for her to expect the same fertility from her enemies. However, there were those in this world who could not tell right from wrong until it was too late.
先のことは誰にもわからないから。
No one knows what the future will bring.
その時になって後悔がなければいいけれど。
I hope that when the time comes, we won't regret this. With a gloomy sight, Alice came to her feet.
ちょっと何のために長話したと思ってるのよ。
I'm not done with the lecture yet. You don't think it's entirely for Suzuki's benefit, do you?
一番重要なあんたの意見聞いてないんですけど。
Your opinion matters the most, and we still haven't even heard it yet.
あなたがあなたの方針を守るというのならそれでいいわ。
If you must stick to her fan, that's fine.
私も
I'll
好
stick
き
to
に
mine.
するだけよ。
Alice glided silently to the door. Girl in black opened it, and she paused, barely by the width of the dim corridor. Then, without warning, to the river of footsteps, a small glass bottle floated in the air and shattered without mercy.
あの時こうしておけばよかった。
This is what I should have done earlier. Her sharp tone made Sojo's face go pale. Alice's voice was so quiet, it's hard to tell if she was being serious or mocking him.
私も言い忘れていたけ
I
ど、
forgot to mention something. She eyed him before turning away, and in a voice even colder than her gaze started.
まだ認
I'm
めて
still
い
not
ない
happy with this arrangement. Her frigid departure seemed to forbade any difficulties that lay ahead.
たく往生際が悪い。
She's such a sore loser. Akko leaned back to suffer her, hurling her abusive implements. Her face looked even more irritated than usual.
見逃すのとここに住まわせるのは別問題よって。
She says letting you go and knowing you say you're out of the question. But I don't see her coming up with any bright ideas.
譲る気もなさそうだし、この分じゃ実力行使に出るかもね、あの子。
She's a stubborn-ass mule. I wouldn't put it past her to resort to violence to get her way. Shotaro threw a worried glance at Akko as she grumbled. He wondered what Alice's show of defiance meant, shattering the glass bottle like she did.
宗十郎には 記憶をなくしてもらうってことで話はつけたけど、心の底から納得してないってことでしょ？
I thought we could convince her by including the back shop that we could erase your memories, but she's having none of it.
アリスにしちゃ珍しく他人を意識してたけど、やっぱりここに住まわせるとなると難しいみたい。
It's rare that Alice is even considerate of other people, but maybe having you live here was a step too far for her.
寝てる分には良かったけど、起きてるあんたを見たらこう、えも言わぬ刺激心を刺激されたとかさ。
She was fine while you were sleeping, but once she saw you were awake, it must have aroused her sadistic side.
気をつけてね。
Watch your back, Sojiro.
あの子。
She might come to finish you off. If anything, Akuno's worry was an indication that persuading Alice had hit a dead end. Somehow, it doesn't seem like the situation changed much from the other night, Alasaki. She saw him an unconcerned look and replied.
そうじゃ
I mean it really.
青崎の次はあの子がやる気満々じゃないか。さっきみたいな目にあったら逃げることもできない。
That girl is just itching to finish what you started. The next time I make eye contact with her, I might not walk away alive.
こういうの生殺しって言うんじゃないか。
This is what people call a cliffhanger.
そうならないように努力するのね。
I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
ま、アリスの理由は遊園地の時ほど切迫したものじゃないから、そのうち諦めてくれるとは思うんだけど。
Besides, Alice isn't feeling as urgent as I was at the music park, so there's always a chance that she'll get over it by herself.
青崎の時とは違うアリスの理由？
You mean that her reason for wanting me dead is different from yours?
ええ。遊園地の時は秘密厳守のためだったけど、それは一応解決してる。
Yeah.
あんたが底抜けに律儀なやつだってのは、アリスだってもう分かってるし。
That time at the music park was because of strict adherence to secrecy law, but we also solved that for now. Even Alice understands how creepy earnest you are.
なんで、秘密厳守云々であそこまで反対する理由はないの。あの子は単にね、ここに住んでほしくないだけなのよ。
So she shouldn't have
アリスはあんたを殺したがってる。
have no reason left to worry about conveniently. At this point, she'll probably just doesn't want you to live here, and stir a desire to murder you. She said so a matter of factly, her eyes cold and serious. Sotro had hoped for a trace of deceit or exaggeration, but alas.
確かにあの子は
I did get that impression from her.
変だね。
What's strange,
それならもっと他の手段を取ればいいのに。
if that's how she really feels, then surely we can find another solution. Perhaps feeling guilty about putting Alice out, Sotro looked at uncarelessly concerned. Alka immediately knew his words what his words really meant.
例えば、記憶を消す魔術が見つかるまで、さっきの小瓶の中に閉じ込めておくとか？
You mean like keeping you locked up inside that tiny glass bottle until we found the magecraft needed to erase your memory? But empathy in her voice until now was gone. So her answer was a simple nod. In truth, it was undoubtedly the easiest solution to all parties concerned. However,
宗十郎、私、約束は破らないの。
Sotro, I don't break promises, remember that. She had taken the easy way out. And that quiet fury was clear to her soft words. As for where that fury was directed, Sotro was actually aware. The pain is just meaning and regret making her say those words.
すまない。考えが足りなかった。
Sorry, I wasn't thinking. His sudden apology caused her usual sullen expression to return. Akuno had not appreciated how angry she was, let alone the reason for it. To her, his apology had come out of nowhere.
あんたって、ほんとわかんないわね。なんでそこで謝るのよ。
I don't get you at all sometimes. What are you apologizing for this time? She stared at Ojo unblinkingly.
あ、そうだ。
Oh, I'm not sure myself.
自分でもよくわからない。
I just guess I thought I should. Even in saying that he was not sure, Sotro had answered honestly. Akko was at a loss of words.
ただ、青崎の言いたいことは分かった。
I get what you're trying to say, Aozaki.
約束を守
Keeping
る
a
っていうこ
promise
と
is
は
more
結果じゃなく
about the
家庭を
process
守
than
る
the
ってこと
outcome.
なんだ。
He shot her gracefully on a smile. That smile face filled with the blissful anger of that made her smile more back instinctively. Sorry about that. It was apparently there was like
当たり前じゃない。落ちなきゃ合ってればいいなんて恥ずか
like
し
a
くて
car
できない
being
でしょ
dragged away. Apparently got in an accident. Now they get if life was only means to an end, I couldn't live with myself. Akko attempted to cover her appearance with a quick retort. Although intentional, having her true feelings exposed like that made Akko a little uncomfortable. Finding his offense is something like a second nature to Akko, but me made the feel uncomfortable was not. Although far from being happy and remarked, she turned away from the speaker. To disguise her perceived shame, Akko started up the conversation again.
あなたを見逃すって言うなら気持ちの問題じゃなくてちゃんと状況もそうなるようにするのは当
If
たり
I
前
say
なの。
I let you go, you can be sure I'm going to do that, regardless of how I feel.
総
And letting
重
you
量を
live
ここ
here
に住まわせることがあの約束を守ることになる
is
んだ
what
よ。
it takes to
厄
keep
介
my
なアリスだっ
promise.
て言い伏せるわよ。
Then take it, even if it means Alice and I butt heads.
脅かすだけならまだしもずっと瓶漬けなんてさせられるわけないでしょ。
If it were just idle threats, there's no way I'll let her bottle you up forever.
そっか。青崎があの子を説得しない素振りなのは、もうできるだけの説得をした後だからなのか。
Thanks, I get why you're giving up trying to persuade her. She won't be persuaded anymore.
それで彼女とは冷戦中なんだ。
Oh, is that why you called it a Cold War?
別にあんたのためじゃないわ。私は私のために約束を
It's
守ってるだ
not
けだし。
as if I'm doing this for you. I'm just keeping my promise.
お察しの通り、私のやるべきことはもう
Like you
終わ
said,
ってるし。
I've done my part, now it's
あ
your
とは
turn.
そっちが努力する番だから勝手にすれば。
So Joe, the ball's in your court. Huh? He replied, tilting his head. Alright, listen up. I
いい
spent
同居案を何とか認めさせることができるのは私だけだから2日間ぶっ通しでアリスを言い伏せもしたけどそれ以上は無理
spent 2 entire days arguing, trying to convince Allison to agree to this cohabitation idea because, hello, I was the only one capable of doing it, but we hit a dead end. For now, I'm taking a hands-off approach. I'll protect you from Alice or Tuffy, but in the meantime, you're the only one to convince her to accept you, Sochiro.
なんで
What? Sochiro, I did not expect that at all. Alice Kanoji, the girl in black who kept everyone at arm's length. If Akko was a modern-day mage in hiding, then Alice was the bona fide witch from the Middle Ages.
青崎、君、自分がどれだけ難しいことを
Asaka, you
言ってる
misunderstand
か
how
分かってるか
difficult that would be, right?
そうね私もこの件に
Of
関
course I
して
do.
だけは同情するわ
And now you know how I feel. Akko stood up from the sofa. This was the end of the discussion, for at least for now.
私たちがどんな人間かはおおよそ分かったでしょ
So, do you have an idea of what kind of people we are?
魔術に関してはこれ以上立ち入らない方があんたのためだから
Apology, you are a magecraft to bear. So I'll spare you any further lectures.
で肝心の今後の方針だけど3ヶ月間ここで暮らす
The long and short of it is you'll be living here for 3 months.
当初の目標
First objective
というよ
or
り
first
最初の
trial.
試練はなんとかアリスに同居人として認めてもらうこと
If you like, is that to somehow get Alice to accept you as her roommate.
試練って言った。
A trial. You
ま
just
あそう
called
いう
it a
類の
trial.
ことを言った。
ごまかしてもいいことないでしょ
Sugarcoating it won't do you any
あなたのことは
favors.
うまくいかなきゃ粉々なわけだし
After all, bullets in your dead man rumor. For cold-blooded remark, Akko started walking towards the door.
あそうそう
Oh, and one more thing.
総十郎の部屋だけど3階に用意しといたから2階のホールの裏側に階段があるから使ってここは寮ってわけでもないし時間は自由に使いなさい
About your room, it's up on the third floor. There's a set of stairs on the far side of the second floor hall, so use those. Also, this is not a dorm, so you're free to spend time however you want.
ただし西館にだけは入らないようにね東館は私が借りてるから比較的安全だけどそれでも歩き回らない方が無難だわ
Whatever you do, do not go into the west wing. and rent the east wing, and so it should be relatively safe in comparison, but still, generally safer to not wander around.
基本安全なのはあんたの部屋とここだけよ。
In other words, the safest places for you are your room and the drawing room.
中の説明ってまさかそれだけ？
Wait, is that really all you're gonna tell me about the mansion?
青崎はいろいろおかしい。魔術なんかよりもっと大事な説明があると思う。
That's that's messed up. That seems way more important than to explain to Magecraft. That's we called out there as we began to leave the drawing room. Aku could not help but face Sojiro.
せめてほら、案内とか。
Can you at least show me around?
面倒なんでパス。おのぼりさんを案内するなんて2回もやれば十分よ。
Sorry, but I have to pass showing the country bumpkin the way of the land. Twice is pretty enough for me.
起きたばっかりだし、とりあえず今日は部屋で休んだら。朝になったら学校まで案内してあげるから。
Plus, you just woke up. Why not take it easy to your room and rest the night? I'll show you how to get to school in the morning. Yeah. Although I have to agree with Social, I think it's probably require a bit more instructions and how to get up there. But then again, I'm a visual learner, so.
私もそう暇じゃなし。そばについてあげられるのは期末試験が終わるまでってことで。
I'm not. It's not like I made a free time. My obligation is to put up with you. Hence, as soon as the final exams are over.
1週間以内にアリスと仲良くなるなり、弱みを握るなりしないと、まあ、あれよね。
If you don't find a way to make nice of Alice, or find some way to blackmail her within a week, well, you know what that means. With barely a wave goodbye, the student castle tyrant walked out. He unconsciously pushed his hand, the hand he had raised. All along, he was a complete loss. Then, as if to encourage him, chirp, chirp, chirp. With the sound of light firing wings, a blue robin appeared out of nowhere. Tiny, chubby blue bird instantly looked at Sotro up and down. Blue robin first said that bring happiness according to folklore, off his little wings to cheer him on. Then, with fire, mercilessly flickered off the lights. Oh, that's a rude bird. No, it's houses. Leaving Sotro in the drawing room, Akko returned to the bedroom. She closed the door to her room, and as soon as she sat in her bed, she was overcome by expected with exhaustion. Sotro had no way of knowing, but she had been prepared for a war. In the event that Alice impulsively pulled out a Polly, Akko had ready to react in an instant. She sighed heavily, but not from the fatigue she felt fighting with Alice. Was I too hard on him? She found a dejected frown. The weight on Akko's mind was not Alice.
でも甘くするのはあいつのためにならないし。
I mean, going easy on him wouldn't do him any
基本おとなし
favors
くしても
either.
らった方がいいわけだし。
Best thing he can do for himself is a lie low. That'd be trouble if he wandered around like he owned the place, after all. The safest thing for him would be to hold up in his room, too scared out of his sense to leave it.
ま、青崎は味方だなんて勘違いされても困るしね。
God, I hope he doesn't think I'm his ally or something.
アリス同様、人でなし扱いされた方が楽だわ。
Alice is the lucky one. I'll have to kill him. I'll kill to have him treat me as a stranger. She nodded herself, agreeing with her to take on the situation. For the most part, it was a sound plan. If there was a problem with it, it would be this.
すまない青崎。一つ聞きたいことが。
Sorry, Alasaki, I just have one quick question. Not 10 minutes to pass since leaving him in the drawing room. For Sotro to shrink of what he said to visit the room so fast, it was like he had no sense of danger at all.
実は外に出たいんだ。
I need to go outside. Of course, he would ask to leave the house. Akko lacked the energy to answer the bar.
洋館の中は歩き回らないし、用を済ませたらきちんと戻ってくる。ただ、 門限とかあったら聞いておこう
I
と。
won't run around the mansion. I'll come back when I'm finished. I just figured I should just check if there was a curfew or anything.
でもアルバイトには行くのよね。
How do you know? Sojo explains with surprise. When it was Akuno who decided to display shock at him.
まあいいわ。
Why you go?
基本午後10時まで。その時間には必ず屋敷にいること。その後は夜勤に出かけるなり、庭でバーベキューするなり、何でも好きにしていい。
You can make you make sure you're back on the safe by 10 every night. As long as you keep your to the curfew, you can go work to your after school job. Have a barbecue in the garden. I don't think Alice would be happy if we had a barbecue in the garden, guys. Probably not. Probably more upset with like birds or something. Do whatever you want. I don't care.
それと、
The front door is
玄
never
関に鍵は
locked
かかってないか
anyway.
ら。
気のせいじゃ
Get
な
to
ければ
pressing you're
青崎
angry with me.
すごく。
あんた相手に気を使った自分に呆れ果ててるだけよ。
I'm angry, alright. Not just with you. I'm angry at myself for caring what happens to you.
外に出るのはいいけど、
And before you go, I'll take this pill.
ん
Sojo took the purple pill from her outstretched hand, and I'll definitely put it himself. He told himself it must have been some kind of medicine.
それじゃあ行ってくる。
Alright.
いろいろありがとう、青崎。
Thanks for everything, Awazaki.
あっそ。今度は窓から出ていかないでよね。
Oh, don't wait for the window this time, yeah. Sojo laughed at himself and on the way for her, unsure what exactly he had found funny. Akko watched him go, both in different and amazed all at once. But always he's not gonna leave out the window like a barbarian. Or like some fires like going on. Well, that happened about half a day earlier that night. He was supposed to take the first pill tomorrow morning. It's Huff. Ruffling her hair in his frustration returned to her room. Scurrying what made such a tick was a waste of brain matter. In all likeness, he was more concerned about missing 2 days of work than his own well-being after being bedridden for 2 days. With the day's work behind him, Sojo returned to the mansion.
よし。
So he had to always sat there waiting to the second floor
2
hall.
階の。
It was just before midnight. This was the scene that awaited beyond the rocky staircase. Huh? Not surprised, Sojo precisely became normal to him. The scene, however, was enough to move his space. This room a lot to Sojo. No matter how he looked at it, no matter how it ran through his mind, and without a shout out in the attic. The treatment stirred the thing to this idea. He just about to flop onto the top stage of the bed, wondering if we can make this work despite his share of our problems. He noticed an awkward courtesy, so meager as to be
寒
useless.
かったら重ねて使うこと。これはサービスとする。
Something to use if you get cold, consider a gift. Meshes a memo pointing to the miraculous personality offer. The bed had been perfectly prepared. Carefully setting aside the blanket had been painstakingly placed on the edge of the bed for him in case he needed it. He looked up at the sky. Although faint, the stars twinkled through the skylight. For a modest boy, that meager light was more than enough for him. The stark contrast with the drawing room had caught him off guard. Now he had collected himself, not so bad. This room filled his personality, even if he was not used to the ability. He felt more at ease here than he did in the city. Perhaps because it was built on a hill surrounded by woods. The atmosphere was a little closer to the mountains where he used to live.
でも、家の中に。
Oh, is that normal?
どうなんだろう。
There would be a fog inside the house. He cracked his neck, pondering over the speculative witness. On the way to his room, Sotra encountered what looked like a fog in the foyer of the second floor. Misty fog drifted into a portion of the corridor, reminding him of a swarm of mosquitoes. He stared at it and he swore he could make out a strange landscape. As he moves closer to get a look. Again, nowhere. Beside him, Ashton, a little blue bird darted briskly in front of him.
鳥
A bird. The bird caught his attention, stopping him in his tracks. When he looked at it to check in the fog again, the strange scene had disappeared.
この家隙間でもあるのかな
This house must have a draft. I'll ask Alasaki about it tomorrow. He murmured to himself as he sat in the bed. Meager as it was, it's just starlight peeping through the skylight claimed, yeah, this will work. Exhausting slowly, he lay down. For the time being, he had essentials needed to live. And his bed was many times softer than it appeared. Thinking his worries seemed smaller than they were, he quickly drifted off to sleep. That was the story from when he opened his eyes and he fell asleep. Just like that, the short night. Falling, the long night was over. For one thing was true. Sergio was optimistic about, but it wasn't the end of the world. Now, let's rewind. Let's rewind 5 hours prior to this gluttonous punishment for going to bed. It was 7 o'clock in the evening, just as, after an unproductive discussion between the two mages, the boy had ended. Leaving her roommate and the intruder in the drawing room, the girl walked along through the foyer. From there, she headed to the west wing. There was Alice Kenoshi's personal chambers, in which even her roommate, Ako Alasaki, seldom dared to set foot, where it was illuminated by a pale moonlight. Her footsteps echoed through the dreamy moonlit lobby. Such mansions in Japan, there were no custom for removing the soles of the door. Hence, Alice crossed the foyer in her boots. She only removed them when she relaxed in her bedroom. Suddenly, she remembered something from her childhood. She used to enjoy the feeling of the cold hardwood floor on her bare feet that she would walk around the foyer practically sunny days. After her father affectionately scolded her for it, she never did it again.
そうだったわね。
I don't know why I bought her.
結局守らなかった。
Ako never does. She let out a quiet sigh. Alice's new roommate, whom she took on after coming to Japan, would not comply with her instructions.
落ち着かないものはしょうがない。
Old habits die hard. Ako would say, change into her slippers. Ako might have found it natural to do so, given that she was a typical Japanese house room in school. But every time Alice heard her flip-flopping through the foyer, she wanted to cancel the cohabitation. By now, Alice was not particularly bothered by it anymore. Human adaptability was remarkable at times, ungracious at others. Emotional attachments to the past proved far too brittle are the way of reality. Little Bird was perched on the banister. Its tiny trip made Alice stop and look its way.
今夜は放っておくわ。今は青子の問題よ。
We will be for tonight, right now, is Anako's problem. Lack of feeling in her voice made the bird tilt its head and sang. Tweet, tweet, tweet. It's trilled. No questioning like a master son characteristic leniency.
約束は約
The
束よ。
promise is a promise. At
今
least I
夜ぐら
can
いは多めに見ないと。
at least I can tolerate him for tonight.
青
And
子と
Ako and
彼
the
は
boy
それだけの活
did
躍
go
を
to
した
such
の
things
だし
after all. She said to the bird, her voice betraying her discomfort. If you want, I'll let you go. She would keep her promise, in spite of the unquenchable desire, the fight that burned in her chest.
でもその後の処遇は別の話。
But I don't make any guarantees after that.
条件付きのゲームに勝ったぐらいでいつまでも得意げでいられるのは心外だわ。
She scrapped a win even with a handicap in her little game, but I won't let her strunts around, chastely rubbing it in my face forever. Perhaps it was perfectionism and both fastidious, but despite her prim demeanor, Alice Kenoshi was a sore loser. It did not matter. To her, whose matecraft was superior, losing the game had proven hard to move on from. Wilbur brought his wings in agreement. Drinking in Alice's contempt was itching a dive bomb invader. It looked like a soldier saluting the superior officer as it presented itself. The Wilbur turned to face its master. Tweet, 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 tweet. Its light-headed tweeting seemed to display a desire to deal with Sochiro's first thing in the morning. She's really feeling like a pig to
理
do.
由さえできたのなら瓶なり本なりに入ってもらいましょう。
Indeed, if he gives us a reason, let's put him in a bottle, or perhaps a book. Except, there were select any bite. On the face of it, they were a chilling kind one might expect from Wish's list, but then again, so tame to remind you of a certain rum swapping.
しばらくの話よ。けどそれも一時だけ。私の我慢も長くは続かないし。
It's only a matter of time. There's not very much at that. My patience has its limits.
だい
Akko,
たい
it's
青
no
子も人にかまけていられる立場じゃない。
persistent to dot on ours in
い
the
つ
first
かも
place.
すれば思い知るでしょう。そうすれば。
I give her 5 days, and then? When that time came, expelling them would be simple. Oswald her roommate was a bigamist with no vision. The situation she created would not allow her way around. She can only afford to protect the boy for 3 or 4 days at most. Beyond that, Alice sensed that Akko would crack and say something like, "You take care of this, Alice."
それまで待つか。あるいは私の我慢が効かなく
I'll
な
wait
る
until then, or will I lose my patience first?
どちらにしても結果は変わらないわ。
Whichever comes first, the end result will be the same. Asukinoshi would suffer no more irritations, and protecting a witness, yet alone, wanting them to live her mansion, was indignity. Alice looked up and fascinated by the dense fog that crawled into the foyer. Above the fireplace was a single mirror. But for 3 feet in diameter, it is decorated wall one might find a paint. Its surface was vaguely reflected on the foyer's appearance. Oh, so this is gonna explain the whole fog thing. So, is it really a trap or is this something else? This is what I get for losing the Stark.
鏡の機能しばらくは制御できないみたい。
I suppose this means that the mirror is out of commission for the time being. The boy chirped at his master's mumbling. The bird attempted to imply that there was no need for her to lift a finger, not for the nuisance would fall into the mirror of its own accord. Or perhaps. Now, Wilbur not saying, Alice would come to the same conclusion. For some reason, she recalled an earlier conversation.
これでも一番無難だと思う。
How about now? Still think this is the safest options? In response to your question, the little boy inside the box shrugged his shoulders and answered, "For respect to the city and the master are no different. It seems like having just moved from the countryside, everything was something that he had never seen before."
自慢できることじゃないが、まだ書き物さえ満足にできないし、都会のルールは複雑すぎて、何が正しいのかさえ区別がつかない。
I'm not proud of it, but I still have trouble writing. The city rules are complicated and I don't even know what right from wrong. More than embarrassment, his voice was full of resentment. He was angry about something, although Alice could not tell what. What?
だから、どこにいても危ないことに変わりはないんだ。
That's why no matter where I go, I'm always in danger.
極端な話、道を歩くだけでも、人と話すだけでも不安になる。
Maybe an exaggeration,
ど
but
こでだろうとうまくやっていける保証はないんだよ。
even walking down the street or talking to someone makes me anxious. No matter where I am, there's no guarantee I'll make it out.
けど、ここにはそんな奴に気を使ってくれる人がいる。気遣ってくれる理由は物騒なものっぽいけど、それは本当に贅沢なことだと思うんだ。
But here, there's someone that might show concern for a person like me. Sure, my reason is a little messed up, but I've never known such luxury. Her eyes welled up ever so slightly. Those soft words were something that she could not brush off. Yes, they made sense to her. Given that everything in the city was nature to him, nothing had changed after coming to the mansion. In reality, he had no reason to fear this place in particular. If anything, it was different from the outside, would be that someone was here was his eye. With FU, and if Tyrus is here. His excavation hadn't contained any fiery towards our Skinoji, or more, we were planning to. Oh, no, nor. Like I've seen more. Planning to Akana Azaki. It was simply speaking to heart. I like it here. I love how we have. I get an update file for this, but yet there's like none that fixes this grammar.
今
Perhaps having to monitor the
鏡に
mirror
迷い込まれるのは迷惑ね。
is more trouble than it's worth right now.
鏡の機能は侵入者の探索に専念させたいし、彼が迷い込みそうになったら止めてあげて。
Why don't to dedicate the mirror's function? So, searching for a tree, so if it looks like it's going to be swallowed up by it, do stop him, will you? Bird shook as far as range instruction. Alice looked away from the mirror and continued to walk. The bird chirped in protest.
あなたの仕事よ、ロビン。それぐらいの役には立って。
It's your job, Robin. At least get that right, would you? Even the bird icy retort she fashioned to West Wing. All that remained was the moonlight. And the little bird, trembling in a perilous prospect of unprecedented change. Nice to meet you. Alright. Alright. Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna end here because, yeah, that actually did take a while. Stick around, we're gonna find someone to raid. Let's see who's on. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we raided Jake. Okay, yeah, we're gonna raid a Falcon on here. We're gonna raid Azure Sniper. He's looks like he's playing Taken. Yeah, guys, have a good one. I'll be back here tomorrow. We're gonna probably go over FGO thing coming up, along with doing that one quest real quick, and then we're gonna switch back over to Witch on Holy Night. Yeah, have a good one, Morals. This is your Demon Lord Dracosog. Sign off and enjoy your weekend. Later.